All right, let's start with, how did we all meet?
At work.
My wife worked with you, and that's how I met you a decade ago.
That's right. You guys knew each other before I met you at Coda.
Yeah.
And then we sold Coda to Presidio and picked up Sean during the Presidio days. So
I headhunted Sean.
that's right. Max picked up Sean during the Presidio days.
All of this you owe to me. You're welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Now he owns you.
I curse you some days.
All right, well, after we knew each other, what made us decide to start a company?
Yeah, everyone else is really bad at it, turns out.
Yep.
Yeah. Mostly going through a acquisition together and seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly that can come with companies like this, and say, hey, look at all these other people that have done it well, that have done it poorly, that have done it mediocre. Like, surely we can do it better than them. So
Yeah.
I've always wanted a chance to do things myself and do it my way and just chart my own course. So I think finding a few like-minded individuals that wanted to go on the journey of not just looking at numbers, but putting customers first was pretty important to me. So doing it my way, but with a collective group of folks who think the same way was really a dream. So I think, this is sort of meant to be.
Some of that was helpful was that everyone's got a different skill set that you need in a company, but you don't always have the bandwidth for. And so I could do finance and operations, you could do sales, Max could do people, Sean could do delivery. And so it was like, you didn't have to have, me too, the same. You didn't have to have one guy wearing all the hats in order to start the company. We're all at a spot where, where we could. I think some of it, like, one of my bosses once told me that I was too cavalier to make it at a big company, which I think you guys have all heard this story or whatever, but I took that as a compliment. I don't think that it was. And I kind of like the idea of, like, we're all going to get together because we're unemployable at this point to start a company of people that are too cavalier to work at a big company. Then that helps you come up with better customer solutions and want to work hard and all that kind of stuff. So I think that attitude, like, we all have that same attitude, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was for me. Was my foray into the industry was doing it all by myself, and doing the recruiting compared to how Max recruits is a joke. Doing delivery management compared to how Sean does it, it's not even close. Cash flow, finance, all that operation stuff. But for me, it was like, if you're going to be in the trenches with somebody, who do you want in the trenches with you? And there are 4 functions of the business like this. I knew I was one of them. My whole background, my whole life has been sales. So who would I envision being in the other 3 chairs? And I mean, I think that's kind of what cemented it. We all had in our heads that we wanted to build a better services company and go build the best company in the world. But I think it was always a question of, who's the team? Who's the coalition? Who do you want to put everything on the line with?
I think it probably helps that we mostly like each other too. Get along. Sometimes fight like old married couple, but get along most days.
I like everyone in this room except one person. They know who they are.
We won't name any names today. That's for tomorrow's video. Yeah, and it's like, we had this conversation once, Chris. It's different to start a business with your friends, and it's different versus starting a business with people who you think are best in the world at what they do, and then becoming friends because, there's some scrappiness and grit and, scrappiness and grit, I guess.
I know this is a contentious topic. Who came up with the name BUILDSTR? Hold on, you don't get to answer. You don't get to answer. One of these two have to answer. One of you two have to answer.
I recall my recollection of events. What it was that Chris came up with the spelling and Max came up with the stylization. Is that right?
Chris sent a stream of consciousness text for about a week, and it was like 20 words, like each time, like different names and whatever.
I do enjoy a good
one
name.
Of those I picked out of the hat and changed it, took an E out and did the stir, which I would say BUILDSTR STR without the STER is our signature, what makes us unique.
It's really what seals it.
Are we even a company if we have an E in there? I don't know.
I thought we dropped the E because the domain was parked and we didn't want.
That may have been it too. But either way, I was the first one that put STR.
I came up with a sound, but Max did make it cooler.
The pronunciation and the spelling. That's our final answer.
You're the Dr. Dre of this group? That's what you're saying right now?
No, you're Benny Blanco. I'm Taylor Swift. That's what it is.
Okay, yeah. All right, I'll agree to that.
That's good. I don't know who Benny Blanco is, but that sounds good.
All right, Here's a real easy one. How did the four of us decide who does what?
That was probably the easiest thing that could have been decided.
Well, it's softball.
The
The questions are going to get harder.
the things that we do now are the only things each one of us has done, I think, in our whole careers, right? You've been an engineer your whole career. You've been in talent recruiting and stuff forever. You've been in finance stuff forever. I've been in sales before I was an adult. So yeah, I mean, that was the easiest part, I think.
We're all good at very few things, but we're good at the one thing that we focus on in here. So the other stuff is not so much.
Crapshoot. Yeah.
I'm good at everything.
Except for Sean Johnson, but you know, all does.
I think some of that too. When we formed BUILDSTR, in my head, I was like, I don't know that I'm the best finance guy in the world, but I know that I'm probably top 5% in the U.S. probably. And I was like, and then each of you in your own respective categories, I would probably say the same thing about it, because I don't know that we wouldn't have formed something with weak links, basically, because essentially, like, when you decide to found a company, we've got a lot on our backs, and so if you'd had someone that I didn't think was very good do something terrible, and then I lose my house because we are bootstrapping this thing, like, I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? And so I think, like, in each of our respective categories, we're all in the top of it. You know what I mean? Like, we're all first round draft picks from the, I say that relatively pridefully, but I've something in my personal craft of finance and operations. I've worked long and hard on that to get better at it. So I don't feel super egotistical saying, like, I think that I'm a pretty good accountant.
I did get a LinkedIn badge that said I was a top 10% recruiter in 2024. So write that down.
Yeah.
All right, this is a good question. When did you guys know that we made it or might make it?
I don't know that we'll ever know if we actually did or did not make it. I mean, isn't that a constant process?
Yeah, true.
Getting a shout out from Adam Silipsky when he was CEO of AWS, that was one of the first things for me that was like, we're really doing this. This is becoming a real company way faster than we thought it would. Because you start out and you have no idea how fast you're going to grow and how fast everything's going to mature. And that felt like a landmark of some sort in the early days, because it was early too. We were barely ACE eligible, I think, when that happened.
I think when we did one of our recent happy hours where we actually had like 12, 13 people on it and all the little boxes on Teams. And, you know, I just remember the first couple meetings, like it was just us meeting every single day. And then, now we have an actual company with people that are really good at what they do. And looking across all those too, and like knowing where they came from, knowing what they did before, and that they are choosing to spend 40 hours of their week, sometimes longer, with us was really cool versus any other place they could have gone, whether it be AWS, big places like that. That was cool to see.
When you start paying for DocuSign, it's pretty official.
Yes. When you're signing too many contracts to stay on the free plan, that's a good
Things
milestone.
are getting serious. Things are getting real serious.
That's a good milestone. I mean, as a sales guy, with as much as we do with AWS, the first time my phone rang and it was somebody we didn't know who said, we've heard the BUILDSTR story and we want to work with you. We want to see what it's all about. We want to introduce you to a customer. That for me was a little bit of like a punch in the chest moment, where it was like, there are people outside of the four of us and outside of the company who've seen what's happening and think it's meaningful or, you know, worthwhile for some reason, who we've never even met. They're not doing it because of your relationship. It's like you get yourself off the ground with all of your own relationships, but then at some point the wave crests and people outside of your own tiny little circle are now learning about it and hearing about it, or even getting excited about it, or saying, this is awesome. This is what we need. This is what my customers need. First couple of times that happened was that moment for me too, I think.
I think some of it was when we could be able to pay ourselves a salary. That's when I felt like, oh yeah, this is a real company here. Like, it's not just a side project that we're doing I've got some other job somewhere else and I kind of jump on calls for this. It was like, oh no, this is my actual job now. Like a real company at that point. And we had enough money to sustain that salary for hopefully an indefinite period of time, but at least I had a long runway of cash on it to know it wasn't like, oh, this month we're going to pay salaries, but not next month. Next month, be careful, you know? That's when I felt like we were like, oh, this is a real company. You know what I mean? When we started getting employees instead of contractors, like that kind of stuff, made it feel a little more real. This is going to be a hard one. When we're hiring employees, what do we look for?
Number one, there's a lot of people that are out there that are technically good, or at least technically good on paper. So, I mean, number one, what we look for is the person joining. Are they going to have the same customer values that we do, have the same day-to-day attitude that, is going to be positive to work with, number one, and for our clients to work with, number two, as well. So I think that we look at the person more the resume first, and then, obviously the resume is always important. We need experts in this field. We need the top 5% in DevOps, cloud migration, software development, data and analytics. Like, we need that tops of the tops to be who we are. So that's important. But number one, you look at the person. Number two, you look at the resume.
Think of everything as either ability or willingness. And like you were saying, obviously to do what we do at an A+ level and the critical systems we're building or scaling or modernizing for some reason, we have to have ability. But there are a lot of shops out there that have ability. Talented salespeople, talented engineers, talented project managers, everything else. I think it's more about being a teammate than anything else to me. It's like everybody knows what it feels like to just go to work and do a job for a paycheck and health insurance. Everybody knows what that feels like. But then everybody knows that little bit of Kool-Aid drinking feeling too, where you go, oh, I'm actually getting really excited about this. And now I feel like the guy next to me is my teammate, not just a person who works at the same company I work at. That's different. That's, you pick each other up more, you go out of your way for each other a little bit more. I think about that teammate thing a lot.
Obviously, I don't know anything about computers, and so I can't help with that or help identify talent from that aspect. But I think like one of the core things I think runs through BUILDSTR is like a service mentality, whether that's us group as a leadership or the people that we hire. I remember we had a conversation a long time ago, Kyle, where I was like, we want our attitude to be, we do the best thing for our customers, whatever they need done, we will do. And I was like, even me I'm an internal cost center, right? Like, I have to have that same mentality as delivery is my customer, sales is my customer. If I want our employees to treat our customers really well, I need to treat our employees like they're my customer. And so I think that but that's all teammate stuff too. But it's like this mentality of service of like anyone that we hire, it's like, where can I help? What can I do? You need me to jump on a sales call? I know I'm usually a computer boy, but like, I'll get on there and talk to the customer if you need to. And so like, and vice versa, you know what I mean? But it's just like that undercurrent of like, do you in general in your life, do you have a service mentality about you? Or like, how can I be helpful? Is that how you look at the world versus what can I get? I think that, for the small amount of employees that we have now, everyone's got that underlying current of like, how can I help? How may I be of service? You know what I mean? Which is kind of the soft skill that we primarily look for. I don't know that we look for. I think it just happens because that's who we are. You know what I mean? Let's talk a little bit about what it means to be an AWS partner and why we believe in that.
We've all been in the business for a long time, so we've worked with all of the cloud providers, all the big vendors, and gravitated towards Amazon for what now seems like very obvious reasons, but it's probably hard to see from the outside. But the whole working backwards thing at AWS, just focus on what the customer is trying to do and align yourself to that. It sounds very, very simple, but that's not what the rest of the industry does. It's always been, you have a solution, whether that's a product you built or a transformation services framework or something, and then you just go sell the solution. It's always been that way. I think we've talked about this before. The last conversation I had with one of the large cloud providers that we don't work with anymore, and that's why we don't, is they spent 18 months trying to figure out how to convince a customer to get off of a data warehouse they were happy with. I just could never make any sense of that outside of we're all just sitting here with a widget trying to slam it in anywhere we can slam it in. Like, how is that what we're doing? And, for better or for worse, everything at AWS isn't perfect, but everything is aligned around what's the customer trying to do, align everyone to that. So it's really more cultural and how they deal with customers and how they care about what the customer's trying to do is different. And then I think it was very fortunate for us that the cloud platform that aligns with values and culture and stuff happens to be by far the most robust physical infrastructure of cloud. That was kind of lucky for us, I guess, in retrospect.
I find the partnership with AWS valuable because of the connections you make. There's a true partnership there rather than a give and take type relationship. It's not transactional. We build deep relationships with them, and I feel like AWS appreciates the same sort of presence from their partners. So I think we line up in our approach to things really well, down to our core values. So it's just a natural fit, I believe.
Good point of what they see in us is scrappiness. Like that's what we hear all the time is it's complicated, it's difficult, it's consequential. Just throwing a framework at it is not going to get the job done. Like somebody has to roll up their sleeves and figure out, why are we doing this? Why did we start here? But what about this? But maybe we don't do this. It's like, it's not easy to run a business that way. The easiest way to run a services business is to say, here's the framework. Let's hire and train to the framework and hire people to sell the framework. And that's it. Like that's enough. That's what a services business has always been. So I think Amazon likes from us, or AWS likes from us, that we're scrappy. We can come in and say, here's what worked for the last 25 customers, but we don't care exactly what database you use as long as it's the one that's going to move the business A to B.
Yeah. There's a bias for action on our part, but we don't try and fit square pegs in round holes. Right tool for the right job, be it what marketing would want you or what the product slicks would want you to use. Sometimes it doesn't always work for a client's use case. So catering to the needs of the actual outcome versus the needs of the product marketing is how we approach our delivery.
Why would a customer ever hire BUILDSTR?
I think there's a needle that you thread when you buy most things these days, whether it's I'm going to go to a restaurant or I'm going to buy this service. You can go to a big chain, you can go to the Applebee's and Chili's and know what you're going to get and the quality that you're going to get and maybe the price that you're going to pay or overpay for it. And you can go to other mom and pop shops, but not have the certainty or the history or the confidence that that type of restaurant service, whatever it may be good. I think we thread the needle in that we are small enough to really truly care about the outcome. You being successful is good for us and vice versa as a customer. And we are not, the history that all four of us bring is 40 plus combined years in AWS professional service focused, delivery of technology services, right? Combine all of our team, it's centuries worth, right? So you have the comfort knowing that I'm with somebody that cares, that their success is my success. And I'm also just not some brick in the wall of, big giant consulting company dropping the bucket.
I think, the technology moves really fast. I think we do a good job at commoditizing the hard stuff. We're one interface to a really complex ecosystem. And a lot of clients are having trouble navigating through some of that, or they may have big decisions coming up that they want an objective opinion that's built based on experience with other clients. So, our breadth of experience is certainly valuable, but I think being a trusted, objective opinion with a service mentality is really important. The other thing is we're not afraid to jump into the really hard stuff. I think a lot of the partner industry, services industry are really afraid to tackle the really tough production type services or situations, and we're not afraid of that. We actually are built on that. Our team is got a lot of scar tissue from a lot of experience and are not afraid to jump into the really hard and complex problems and letting clients sleep at night while we're solving those hard problems for them. So I think there's a couple things. We make the hard stuff a lot easier, and the stuff that is already hard that's currently on fire, we're not afraid to jump into it and just make progress. So, and I think third, we lead with trust and transparency first. There's nothing hidden in our delivery process. We update as much as possible. Bad news doesn't get better with time. We deliver that up front, honestly and transparently, and make good on our word. So our say-do ratio is really high. We like to keep our promises. So why would a client choose us? I don't think I could put it in one sentence, but that's at least a few things that I've thought.
You're paying us for engineering services. The reason you're choosing us for that over anybody else who does engineering services is we're actually going to sit there and help you figure out what we would do if we were in your exact seat. That's down to technology choices. That's down to budget choices. That's down to if we did this, then the business could do this, then we could do this, then the business could do that. So it's really putting the frameworks to the side. But Sean, you make a good point that it's showing up with the knowledge and the experience of what has worked for over hundreds of projects for many, many years, but then not being too married to that, where when the customer starts to tell you their specific context and constraints and organizational requirements and compliance and everything else, that you can adapt it to them. So I think you make the good point that, if you pulled up the website, it would say you're scrappy and dependable AWS services partner. And that's the scrappiness is, we're not afraid to get into the stuff where somebody's getting hauled in front of a congressional subcommittee if it goes wrong, like core mission critical production services. Another partner has tried it. It didn't go well. The customer tried it on their own. It didn't go well. Oh, wait, something changed in the third inning when we had this whole plan for the game, and now we have to change in the middle of the game, and then the plan's going to have to change in the seventh inning again. Especially with startups, everything changes so fast. So that's the scrappiness. And then the dependable part is what you were talking about. Like, does your partner pick up the phone at 2 a.m.? I'm not saying we can just be a 24/7 call us anytime shop, but it's like, is your partner actually there for you? Are they reading from the letter of the law of the statement of work, or are they trying to figure out how to get you A to B?
We all have the mindset of like, make it easy for people to give us money. Be easy to do business with. If the customer got a bunch of like really strict, this is super technical, but for me, technical. If this customer's got a hefty MSA or they've really stuck to like whatever term, you're like, yeah, cool, let's sign it and get through with it, because it's not worth fighting about to get this project. Because I know that for most of our customers, we need to start this right now. The faster we soon it, the more revenue they can generate. We need to start this right now. And me fighting with their attorney over T's and C's and an MSA doesn't help anybody. So like, I think we all have the attitude of like, how do we make this easy to do? How can we do business easy with you? And like, it's easy for you to get our invoices. When do you want them? How do you want them? What do they look like? We're easy with contracts and stuff like that. And so I think it's helpful to customers, especially in the startup world where like, they're not super robust. We're not super robust. So we don't need to fight about what we're not robust about. I think that kind of is helpful to customers of like just being easy to do business with. There's a lot of companies in the world that make it hard for you to give them money for some reason. And I'm making my mission to not make that difficult here.
In those crazy situations, everything's moving fast. You never have all the information you would ideally need to make a decision. Somebody's got to go get real creative. And we're pretty much on a daily basis doing that in the contract structure and in how it's going to get delivered and in how it's going to get staffed and resourced and how it's going to get chunked up for milestones and payments and invoices. So I think maybe that's back to the scrappy thing.
What's your vision for the future of BUILDSTR? How do you want it to look 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if we live that long?
Obviously, I'm happy if the company's still growing, but what I'd like to be is viewed as one of the most trusted and reliable partners that you could possibly use to help accelerate your business growth or to build reliability, stability into your services. I'd like BUILDSTR's name to be synonymous with reliability in all facets of our business. I think if we can get to that view, the money and all the growth and that stuff is secondary to me. I'd like a ton of happy customers and a bunch of employees that are moonwalking to the shower in the morning before they go to work because they're just stoked to be here. And then being viewed as a team that's just rock solid reliable is, end goal for me. Not even end goal, but always the goal.
Yeah, from a people perspective, when I'm recruiting people to come to BUILDSTR to work here, I am fully aware that I am asking them to sometimes spend more of their time with us than their own families, right? And that they can choose to go spend that time millions of other places, literally. So, what I want out of this, and I look back at today, 5 years from now, I hope that we, like you said, have a bunch of happy employees, have people that really came here to do passionate work, whether that be in engineering, whether it be in marketing, whether it be in HR, whatever it may be. And they were fulfilled by that. And they came here and they felt like, yeah, this was a place I love to spend my 40 hours. And hopefully we'll continue to do that for the next 5 years. And I think if we do that, that trickles down to how we deliver to our customers and how we interact with our partners. And again, you create happy people that like what they're doing. They're going to put out good work, which in turn is going to be good for everyone that we work with.
Briefly, too, to add on, being looked at as a business that helps grow careers. You know, from the start, you know, I started as an intern. I tell the story almost every time I talk about this stuff, but starting as an intern, I'm really passionate about growing careers with folks. So I I'd like to also be viewed as a go-to destination for you know, interns, juniors, and have a good pipeline of folks that we're building their careers with them. I think that's really important and just something near and dear to my heart.
Like whether you worked for us or with us, if you're on the Amazon side or you were a customer and you worked with us, it's like, yeah, I worked with them. I feel proud about that. It was, you know,
You
maybe
want people in their LinkedIn logos to put
ex-BUILDSTR.
ex-BUILDSTR if they ever leave
I was
here.
going to say that, yeah. We'll maybe have a lightweight version of people will, you know, like my grandpa shook Sinatra's hand. You know, somebody will say, hey, we experienced that. We had BUILDSTR come in and unstick us out of the worst place we were ever in. I was part of that. And then inside of BUILDSTR, like to your point, the ex-BUILDSTR and the LinkedIn tag. Seriously though, like I want people to look back at it. I was a part of a company that sold to IBM a long time ago. And in 2 weeks in Chicago, there is a reunion that they've had to reschedule twice because it had so much response and so much attendance. Hundreds of people are going to this reunion. And it's because everybody was very proud of having been involved in it. You know, you look back and you say, I had some piece in that success that was bigger than just going to work and having a job.
The obvious finance guy answer is I'd love to make a bunch of money for myself and everybody that works here over the next 5 years. And I think that is possible without focusing on the money for the most part, right? Like one of the things I like about all of us is that for as cold-hearted as I can often be and numbers driven, I do generally care about people. And I think like Sean and I share this same passion of like, I think it will be cool once we can get to the point where we're hiring people with limited to no technical experience and grow them through BUILDSTR Academy. And now they're an engineer. I think the idea of what we're able to do here is to expand the circle of good jobs that are relevant to people and they can come in with no experience and go through and get that. Like that's kind of my 5-ish year goal is like, if we can get that stood up, that will be very cool. And not to mention it will help us make more money because we'll have more great talent in here. But yeah, and I think that like long term, like having a place where people were proud to work and that they were like proud to come to work every day and the stuff that they did and they weren't mad about anything, that they were excited to be here. I think that's more positive than most of the money you could make. Like we'll have a great sustainable company if like our employees have that attitude, because like Max said, our customers will naturally have that attitude if our employees have that attitude. So I think like long-term vision is like, what would be the coolest place to work? And you know, it's trite. Is that the right word? Trite?
I think so.
Trite, and like, you know, makes good memes to say like ping pong tables aren't culture and beer is not culture and all this. And that's all true. Like as a remote organization, how do you build a culture that like people like? I think we do a good job of focusing on like, what's the best thing for our employees here? Because that will be the best thing for our customers. And so like continuing to grow that vision, that's kind of like what I think about, like what gets me excited about this. It's not shooting invoices out of QuickBooks. It's like, we're making a cool place to work here. You know what I mean?
If we take care of people, the money will take care of itself.
All fine. Yeah.